All right, everybody. You might recognize me, Trevor Snyder, from other YouTube channels. This one, we're starting from scratch. What we're doing here is just trying to figure out, what is climate change? Are we responsible for climate change? What's responsible for climate change? Since it's a brand new channel, I can only do 10-minute videos for a little bit till I drop a few. But I think as we go along, we'll get longer videos. We'll really figure out what is climate change and what is our role in climate change. Right now, we're going to start with this one that literally says, and I have not watched it, what is climate change? It is a Jazeera English, Al Jazeera English video. It will be in the comments, and I can't do too much commentary. I got to keep this under 10 minutes, and it's 7 minutes and 6 seconds. Let's
talk about climate change. People are calling it the crisis of our time,
People
and it is.
Climate change.
Climate change.
Climate
Changes.
Climate change.
But it's easy to get lost in this story. The science is dense and politics get in the way. World leaders are meeting in Madrid to talk about the climate crisis and how to slow it down.
They're flying all over the world.
And they're under pressure from millions of people around the world calling for concrete action.
The empty promises are the same, and the inaction is the same.
So what exactly are we doing wrong, and how do we fix it?
What is climate change? I mean,
we're going to kick this off with some basic science, so bear with me, because this is important. Look at this graph. These are the levels of carbon dioxide in our atmosphere over hundreds of thousands of years. But this spike in carbon dioxide at the very end, that took off during the Industrial Revolution. We started breaking CO2 records in 1950, and we haven't stopped since. Why? Well, scientists say there's a 95% chance that human activity is the cause.
Okay, I got to stop this real quick. I just got to say, there are billions of people that rely on fossil fuels, coal, and wood burning to just live, just warm through the winter and to cook things. So let's just keep that in mind.
We've been burning more and more fossil fuels like oil and coal, which release CO2, to power our homes, factories, airplanes, and cars.
We have 360
There's also
million
a lot
people.
more of us. The global population has tripled in the
US.
past 70 years. And we're consuming more products from animals that release another pollutant called methane. So all those gases are released into the
Okay, I guess she's going to talk about it right here. But methane is doesn't stay up in the atmosphere very long. It has some very adverse effects from what you hear from different people. But let's let her talk about it.
And when sunlight gets into the Earth's atmosphere, some of the heat gets trapped and the planet gets warmer. That's why they call it the greenhouse effect.
Yeah.
But the concern is not that the Earth is getting warmer. It's that it's happening far too quickly.
But it's actually the warmest temperature on Earth since the last ice age.
Correct. But I mean, obviously during the ice age, it wasn't that warm during the ice age, but afterwards, before. And the thing is, throughout the history of the Earth, the most prosperous times for all living things are when it's the warmest, and it's been quite a bit warmer than it is right now.
10,000 years ago.
The UN says that right now, our world is about 1 degree hotter than pre-industrial times.
Okay.
That's around the year 1800. Which is okay. In fact, the UN says if we warm by 1.5 degrees before the end of the century, we should be fine. The UN even says 2 degrees would probably be all right. But again, the problem is speed. Because right now, we're on track to hit 1.5 degrees in only 10 years. And if we don't slow that warming down, it could mean catastrophe within my lifetime.
Could mean.
And maybe yours too. And we're already getting a taste.
See, a lot of this is speculation.
Climate change is here. Climate change is happening. We are well into the 6th mass extinction event.
Europe is currently colder than the Arctic.
More than 1,000 people being rescued just in the early morning hours of Sunday.
Millions of people are likely to suffer worsening food and water shortages. Drought, which is now in its 10th year, is a phenomena that's here to stay.
We've never seen a year's worth of rain in less than 7 days.
Sea levels are rising about 3 millimeters a year because seawater expands as temperatures get warmer.
It's been as high as we know of, 300
Melting
feet
ice sheets and glaciers also add trillions of tons of fresh water into our oceans. People around the world are already losing their homes. And if things carry on, millions more of us will have to pack up too. Entire coastal cities could be underwater within 80 years, like Miami in the US or Osaka in Japan. Entire island nations in the Pacific.
I think it is like what are we causing, but also adaptability. I think that humans are excessively adaptive, and we don't like to think that we have to adapt in the future, but regardless, we're gonna have to adapt in the future.
Could completely disappear.
Natural disasters becoming more and more intense, more frequent, with more devastating consequences. The dramatic impacts of drought in different parts of the world, all this is creating a situation that is a real threat to humankind, and we are not doing enough.
If 99% of doctors said to you, take this medicine or you will get really sick and probably die, you would take it. Who wouldn't take it? The problem is, at the moment, we don't have any medicine.
Now there is a plan to slow all this down.
What are the repercussions of taking it? Do I have, is there going to be bad effects that might be worse? Am I really going to die? What's my, there's a lot of questions. I'm not going to just listen to somebody. But
2016, world leaders signed the so-called Paris Agreement. And the big pledge is to cap temperatures rising by 1.5 degrees or a maximum of 2 before the year 2100. So countries set their own targets on how much CO2 they emit. But here's the thing. 3 years after the agreement, global CO2 levels are still going up.
CO2 emissions have been going up the last year by 2%, so that's actually above the average of the last 10 years. So it's started to increase again.
So you're saying we spent trillions of dollars and nothing happened? That's what I heard.
Doesn't look too good.
In some ways, we're going backwards.
The United States will cease all implementation of the non-binding Paris Accord and the draconian financial and economic burdens the agreement imposes on our country.
The U.S., one of the world's biggest polluters, has pulled out of the Paris deal. Russia and China are accused of not giving themselves ambitious targets in the first place. Turkey and Poland want to build more power plants that use coal. And then there's...
Okay, but there's a lot of poor people that use coal. I mean, even in the United States. Now, we do have buffers in our stacks and stuff, and you can only use a certain amount, or you have to buy more credits. There's only so many CO2 credits sold and whatnot. There are regulations on all this stuff already, that we are putting on other companies, and they have to do it. So taxpayer-induced anything else to get to there, I fail to see how that's going to help the people. Now, are you for the people, or who are you fighting for, I guess?
The skeptics.
It's a political decision that there is man-made global warming.
Forced the computer models to say, human influence, CO2 and other stuff.
The ground-based temperature data has been massaged to show an increase, but the satellite data shows no increase.
On the other hand, there is positive momentum. There's more awareness, and some countries are making progress. India, Morocco, and the Gambia have massive renewable energy projects.
There are different countries doing things successfully. So some countries are, for example, making all public transport free in the cities. What a great way to encourage people out of their cars.
But experts say what's needed now is an even bigger push to change everything about the way we run our world.
Business as usual has got to change. Politics as usual has got to change. In order to combat that, we have to change the system.
If you're saying more government intervention is always the answer, you are wrong. I mean, when has anybody ever profited, or when was it a good idea for the government to get involved over private corporation? Private corporation is always less expensive, always has better ideas. It's more ingenuitive. So
that it's allowed it to happen. You can't have infinite growth on a finite planet.
And everyone can do that by, shifting to renewable energy, reducing the use of cars, use train more, cycle more, eat less meat, consume a bit more carefully.
So where does that leave us? Well, there's only so much bike riding and light bulb replacing that you and I can do every day. But the truth is that it's those everyday things that are going to change anyway. Even coffee could run out if farmers can't grow it. So the expert advice is that it's down to all of us to change our ways and shake things up, or climate change is going to do it for us.
I think that's what we're doing. I don't want to...
If there's a story you want to get your head...
The actual video will be in the link. I just want to say that there's a lot that goes into this, and you have to take into account all the other people. And the Industrial Revolution took more people out of poverty and gave them food and housing and everything than anything. So let's not demonize everything. Let's take a look at the big picture. Thanks. We'll see you next video.